The room fell silent as Professor Dorn's large tentacles slammed onto the desk. His three eyes narrowed at the small group of students. "Earth is not a joke," he said. "It is a Class 12 death world. Most who go there do not return." Trell sank deeper into his moisturizing suit. His blue skin paled slightly as he raised a webbed hand. "Then why are we going there, Professor?" The classroom's holographic display showed a blue and green planet spinning slowly. It looked peaceful, but the red warning symbols around it told a different story. Professor Dorn sighed, releasing a small cloud of spores that smelled of worry. "The Galactic Academy thinks we can learn from Earth. The creatures there, humans, somehow live on a planet that should kill them." Vox clicked her mandibles excitedly, her insect-like body twitching with energy. "I heard humans can survive being cut open, and they can regrow some body parts." "That's just a story," Mira chirped, her feathers fluffing up. She was the smallest of the group, with sharp eyes and quick movements. "But I read they can drink poison for fun. They call it alcohol." Professor Dorn waved two of his tentacles for silence. "Yes, humans are strange. They live in places too hot, too cold, too wet, and too dry. Their planet has deadly microbes everywhere. The gravity is crushing. The air is filled with oxygen that would kill most species." Trell's gills fluttered nervously. "And we're going there. Willingly. You three were chosen because you are the best xenobiology students," Professor Dorn said. "We will use disguise technology to look like humans. We will study them without them knowing. We will find out how they survive." The professor touched a button, and the display changed to show human bodies. These creatures evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They have strong muscles because of the gravity. They have thick skin to protect from radiation. They can eat foods that would poison us. Vox stood up, her 6 legs clicking on the floor. "I'm not afraid. I want to see if they really have only 2 legs and no proper exoskeleton." Mira nodded, her beak shining under the lights. "I want to know how they think. Any species that survives such conditions must have interesting minds." Only Trell looked uncertain. "Professor, what if our disguises fail? What if humans discover us?" The professor's middle eye blinked slowly. "The Academy has strict rules. If humans discover us, we must leave immediately. Earth is not part of the Galactic Union. Humans do not know about alien life. They are still primitive in many ways." "But dangerous," Vox added. "Yes," Professor Dorn agreed. "They fight wars against each other. They build weapons that can destroy their own planet. They are both fascinating and terrifying." The professor handed each student a small device. "These will maintain your human disguises. Do not lose them. Do not break them. Your lives depend on them." Trell took his device with shaking hands. Mira held hers carefully in her wing-like grip. Vox simply grabbed hers and attached it to her exoskeleton. "We leave tomorrow," Professor Dorn said. "Pack only what you need. Remember, we are scientists. We observe. We do not interfere." As the students left the room, Trell moved close to Mira. "I'm scared," he admitted. Mira's feathers smoothed in a gesture of comfort. "It's just for one Earth season. We'll learn, and we'll return with new knowledge." Vox clicked her mandibles again. "Maybe we'll discover why the Academy calls Earth a death world when humans live there so easily. Maybe they're the dangerous ones." The 3 students looked back at the holographic display of Earth. It continued to spin, beautiful and deadly, a blue and green mystery waiting for them. The landing pod touched down in a forest clearing at night. As the door opened, the air that rushed in made Trell cough, and Mira's feathers puff out in alarm. "So much oxygen," Professor Dorn said, checking his instruments. "And the gravity, can you feel it pulling you down?" Vox stepped out first, her insect legs wobbling slightly under Earth's stronger pull. "It's like wearing extra armor," she clicked, "but I can handle it." They each activated their disguise devices. In seconds, their alien bodies shimmered and transformed into human shapes. Trell became a thin young man with pale skin. Mira turned into a small woman with short hair. Vox's insect form changed into a tall, athletic human. Professor Dorn's tentacles and 3 eyes vanished, replaced by the form of an older human with gray hair and a beard. "Remember," the professor said, touching his now human face with wonder, "we must act like humans at all times. We have studied their behavior, but experiencing it will be different." They walked from the forest to a road, where a vehicle waited. Their base would be a small house near a college campus. The plan was simple: pose as exchange students and observe real humans up close. The next morning, they ventured onto the campus. Trell jumped at every loud noise. Mira kept turning her head too far, forgetting human necks had limits. Vox walked stiffly, unused to having only 2 legs. "There are so many of them," Trell whispered as students passed by. "And they're so close to each other. Don't they worry about disease?" A group of humans laughed nearby, the sound making Mira flinch. "They're so loud," she said. "How do they hear danger coming?" Professor Dorn checked his datapad. "Humans have poor senses compared to most species. They can't smell danger, their hearing is limited, and their vision is restricted to a narrow light spectrum." "Then how do they survive?" Vox asked. Before the professor could answer, a human bumped into Vox. Both stumbled. "Sorry about that," the human said with a smile. "I wasn't looking where I was going. Are you new here?" "I'm Jack." Vox froze, mandibles clicking nervously inside her human disguise. "Yes. New. I am Vox, exchange student." Another human joined them, a female with long dark hair. "Hi, I'm Rena. Are you all exchange students? Where are you from?" Professor Dorn stepped forward. "We are from very far away. I am Professor Dawn. These are my students." Jack looked at them curiously. "Cool. What are you studying?" "We study humans," Mira said, then quickly added, "I mean human behavior. Sociology." Rena smiled. "That's great. There's a campus tour for new students today. Want to join us? We're the guides." The aliens looked at each other nervously, but the professor nodded. "We would be pleased to join your tour." As they walked across campus, Jack pointed out buildings and explained campus life. The aliens struggled to keep up, still adjusting to Earth's gravity and oxygen levels. "Is it always this hot?" Trell asked, sweat visible on his human disguise. Jack laughed. It's only 75 degrees. Wait until summer." "And the microbes in the air," Mira whispered to the professor. "How do humans not get sick constantly?" Rena overheard. "Are you a germaphobe?" "Don't worry. Most people carry hand sanitizer." As the tour continued, Vox noticed something odd. The humans move so easily here. If this planet is so deadly, why do they seem so comfortable? Professor Dorn watched as students played sports on a field, throwing their bodies around without fear. "That," he said quietly, "is exactly what we're here to understand." By the end of the day, the aliens were exhausted. Earth's conditions drained them, yet the humans around them showed endless energy. It was their first clue that there was more to these creatures than the Academy had told them. A camping trip. Trell's human face showed the same fear his real amphibian features would have. "In the wild parts of Earth." Jack nodded excitedly. "Yeah, it's perfect. The geology club goes every semester. We hike, study rock formations, and camp overnight. Since you're studying human behavior, you should totally come." The 4 aliens stood in their small house, having an emergency meeting after Jack and Rena left. "This is too dangerous," Trell said. "The wilderness has even more threats than the human settlement." Vox paced on her 2 human legs, still getting used to the balance. "But this is why we came here, to see how humans interact with their deadly world." Professor Dorn checked his datapad. The forest has predators, poisonous plants, insects that spread disease, and extreme temperature changes at night. And yet humans go there for fun, Mira said thoughtfully. "I think we should go." 2 days later, they found themselves on a bus with 15 human students, heading toward mountains visible in the distance. The aliens wore backpacks filled with camping gear Jack had helped them buy. "Remember your training," Professor Dorn whispered. "Observe, but try to blend in. And keep your emergency buttons ready, just in case." The bus stopped at a trailhead. As they stepped out, Trell looked up at the open sky with worry. On his homeworld, being exposed like this would make you pray. "Everyone stay together," Jack called out. "It's about 3 miles to the camping spot. We'll study rock formations along the way." The humans started walking, talking, and laughing. The aliens followed, constantly scanning for threats. "They're so relaxed," Mira said quietly. "Don't they know the dangers?" Rena appeared beside her. "First time hiking. Don't worry, it gets easier. The trail is well marked." As they hiked, the aliens noticed how easily humans moved on the uneven ground. When Jack pointed out a certain type of rock, all the humans knelt down without fear of predators. When a small animal rushed across the path, only the aliens jumped in alarm. The humans just smiled. After 2 hours of hiking, dark clouds appeared over the mountains. "Weather changing," Professor Dorn said, checking his hidden scanner. "The moisture levels are rising rapidly." Jack noticed the clouds too. "Looks like rain coming. We should set up camp before it hits." They reached a clearing by a small river. The humans quickly began setting up tents. The aliens tried to copy them, but struggled with the unfamiliar equipment. "Here, let me help," Jack said, showing Trell how to put the tent poles together. Rain started falling. The aliens had studied Earth's water cycle, but feeling the drops hit their human disguises was strange and frightening. "It's just water," Rena laughed, seeing their nervous faces. "A little rain won't hurt you." But the rain grew heavier. The wind picked up. Lightning flashed across the sky, making Vox jump every time. "The river's rising," someone shouted. Jack ran to look. His face grew serious. "Everyone pack up. We need to move to higher ground." Flash flood warning. The humans moved quickly, taking down tents and gathering supplies. They worked together without panic, even as the rain poured down. "What is happening?" Trell asked, his voice shaking. "The river's about to overflow," Jack explained, helping them pack. "But don't worry, we've got time to reach safe ground." A loud crash came from upstream. Jack's eyes widened. Change of plans. Leave everything. Run to the ridge now. Water surged down the river, breaking its banks. The aliens froze in terror. Humans grabbed them, pulling them toward higher ground. In the chaos, Trell slipped on wet rocks. The rushing water caught his legs. He screamed as he began to slide toward the flood. Jack turned back. Without hesitation, he ran to Trell, grabbing his arm. For a moment, both were in danger of being swept away. Then Jack's feet found purchase on a rock, and he pulled them both to safety. As they reached the ridge, soaking wet but alive, Trell stared at Jack with new understanding. Maybe humans weren't just surviving this deadly world. Somehow, they had mastered it. Back at their house, the aliens sat in silence. Their disguises were deactivated, allowing their true forms to recover from the camping trip. Trell floated in a small pool of mineral water. Mira preened her damp feathers. Vox cleaned her mandibles. Professor Dorn's tentacles moved slowly as he updated their research logs. "He saved my life," Trell said finally. "Jack could have died too, but he came back for me." "Humans protect each other," Mira chirped. "Even strangers." Vox clicked her front legs together. "But why? On my world, we only protect our own hive. Why would Jack risk himself for someone he barely knows?" Professor Dorn's middle eye blinked thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is how they survive this planet, by working together against the dangers." The room's display showed videos they had recorded during the flood. Humans organizing quickly, helping each other, sharing supplies, all without panic. "Look at this," Mira said, pointing with her wing. They predicted the flood before it happened. They knew where to go. They planned for danger. Trell lifted himself partly out of his pool. They didn't just react to the threat. They expected it. They were ready. A new hypothesis, Professor Dorn said, his voice low and thoughtful. What if humans thrive not despite Earth's dangers, but because of them? The other aliens turned to look at him. Think about it, he continued. Most species in the galaxy evolved on safe worlds, stable climates, few predators, limited natural disasters. But humans evolved here, Vox said, understanding. Each danger forced them to adapt or die. Professor Dorn nodded his large head. Their bodies are tough because their world is tough. Their minds are clever because they needed to solve problems to survive. We need more data, Mira said. We should see how humans handle other challenges. Just then, a message alert sounded. Professor Dorn touched the communication panel. A hologram appeared, showing another alien like him, but with formal academic markings on his tentacles. Professor Dorn, a hologram said, the Academy Board is concerned about your mission. Earth is classified as too dangerous for extended study. You must prepare for extraction within 1 Earth week. After the call ended, the room was silent again. 1 week? Trell said, but we've just started to understand them. Vox stood up on her 6 legs. We can't leave. This is important research. No one has studied humans this closely before. Professor Dorn's tentacles curled with stress. The Academy fears for our safety. After the flash flood, they may be right to worry. But that's exactly when we learned the most about humans, Mira argued. When things went wrong, we saw their true nature. They were interrupted by a knock at the door. Quickly, they activated their disguises. Professor Dorn opened the door to find Jack and Rena standing there. Hey, Professor Dorn, Jack said with a smile. We wanted to check if everyone's okay after yesterday. We brought some hot chocolate. Rena added, holding up a thermos. It helps after a scary experience. Professor Dorn, now looking human, invited them in. The alien students watched carefully as Jack and Rena moved around their house, noticing things the aliens hadn't realized were strange. Why is your TV unplugged? Jack asked. And why is the bathroom so wet? Rena whispered to Mira. The aliens shared nervous glances. Their cover story was starting to fall apart. We were thinking, Jack said, sitting down. You guys seemed pretty freaked out by the storm. Have you really never been camping before? Where did you say you were from again? Rena asked, her eyes curious. Trell looked at Professor Dorn, panic in his human eyes. The professor nodded slightly. We are not from around here, Trell said carefully. Yeah, we got that, Jack laughed. But you act like you've never seen rain before, or like gravity is new to you. The aliens realized they had a choice to make. With only 1 week left, should they maintain their cover? Or was there something to be gained by trusting these humans? Professor Dorn saved them from answering Jack's question. We come from a very protected environment. This is our first real experience with the outside world. Jack and Rena exchanged looks but seemed to accept this explanation. Well, that explains a lot, Rena said. Hey, would you guys like to see something really cool? The engineering department is having an open house today. They're showing off some new machines. The aliens agreed, grateful for the change of subject. As they walked across campus, Professor Dorn whispered to his students, be extra careful today. No mistakes. We only have a few more days to gather data. The engineering building was large and filled with loud machines. The aliens stayed close together, overwhelmed by the noise and movement. Humans stood around various devices, explaining how they worked. This is our new virtual reality system, a student explained to the group. It lets you experience dangerous situations safely. And over here, another student called, is our disaster response robot. It can go into burning buildings or flood zones to help find people. Vox moved closer to this machine, fascinated by its design. You build robots to face danger for you. Sometimes, the students said, but robots can't replace human rescuers. They don't think creatively enough in unexpected situations. As they moved through the exhibits, Mira noticed something. These humans are preparing for disasters before they happen. They're creating tools specifically for dangerous events. A loud bang suddenly came from across the room. One of the machines had exploded, sending metal pieces flying. Smoke filled the air. Alarms began to sound. "Everyone out!" someone shouted. The room erupted into motion. Humans moved quickly but orderly toward exits. Some grabbed fire extinguishers. Others helped people who had fallen. In the chaos, Mira got separated from the group. Smoke irritated her eyes, making it hard to see. A piece of metal had hit her arm, damaging her disguise device. Her human appearance flickered, briefly revealing her bird-like features. Rena, who was looking for her, saw it happen. Her eyes widened, but instead of screaming or running away, she rushed to Mira's side. "Your disguise is failing," Rena whispered, positioning herself to block others' view. "Hold still." With quick fingers, Rena adjusted Mira's device, stabilizing the disguise. Mira froze, certain their mission was now over. "I don't know what you are," Rena said quietly as she worked. "But I'm not going to expose you. Let's just get out of here safely first." They rejoined the others outside. The humans had already organized themselves, counting people, treating minor injuries, and keeping curious onlookers back from the building. "Is everyone okay?" Professor Dorn asked, his tentacles nervously moving inside his human disguise. "We're fine," Rena said, giving Mira a meaningful look. "But we should talk. Privately." Back at the alien's house, Rena sat calmly on the couch while the four aliens paced nervously. "So," she finally said, "you're not human. And definitely not from Earth." Professor Dorn sighed. "How did you know?" "Little things. You never eat in public. You don't understand basic references. You're amazed by ordinary weather." Rena smiled. "Plus, I saw Mira's real form during the accident." Trell moved toward the emergency beacon. "We should alert the Academy. Our cover is blown." "Wait," Rena said. "I'm not going to tell anyone. Actually, I want to help." The alien stared at her in surprise. "You're studying us, right? Human behavior. I'm a sociology major. I understand the importance of research." Rena leaned forward. "Let me help you understand humans better." Vox clicked her mandibles inside her disguise. "Why would you help aliens spy on your species?" Rena laughed. "Spy? Is that what you think you're doing? Look, humans are curious by nature. The chance to learn about alien cultures, that's a dream come true for me." Professor Dorn considered this. "The Academy wants us to leave in a few days, but with a human helping us, we could learn more in that time than we would on our own." "I have one condition," Rena said. "Eventually, you tell me the truth about yourselves and where you come from." The aliens looked at each other, facing a decision that could change everything. Trust a human with their secret, or return to the Academy with incomplete research. Meanwhile, Jack was at the library, searching online for information about strange visitors, disguise technology, and the possibility of life beyond Earth. With Rena's help, the aliens learned more about humans in 2 days than they had in the previous 2 weeks. She took them to places they wouldn't have found on their own. "This is a hospital," Rena explained as they walked through sliding doors. She had arranged a tour through her uncle, a doctor. "This is where humans go when they're sick or hurt." The aliens looked around with wide eyes. Trell stayed close to Professor Dorn, nervous about all the germs. "You mean humans can repair their bodies?" Vox asked, watching a nurse push a patient in a wheelchair. "Sometimes," Rena said. "We can set broken bones, fight infections, even replace some body parts." A doctor showed them equipment and explained medical procedures. The aliens were amazed by how humans faced disease and injury. "On most planets," Professor Dorn whispered, "such medical science isn't needed. life forms evolve in safer environments. But because Earth is dangerous, Mira added, humans had to develop ways to heal themselves. Later, Rena took them to a fire station, a weather center, and finally to her family's home for dinner. "Mom, Dad, these are the exchange students I told you about," Rena said. Her parents welcomed them warmly. The aliens watched carefully as the family interacted, noting how they shared food, told stories, and laughed together. "Where exactly are you from?" Rena's father asked during dinner. Professor Dorn had prepared for this. "We come from a small island nation, very isolated. That's why many things here seem new to us." As they ate or pretended to eat, carefully hiding food in napkins, Rena's younger brother ran in from outside, bleeding from a scraped knee. "I fell off my bike," he announced, more excited than hurt. Instead of panic, the parents calmly cleaned the wound, applied medicine, and put a bandage on it. The boy was back outside playing minutes later. "Did you see that?" Trell whispered to Mira. The child was bleeding, but everyone acted like it was normal. "For humans, it is normal," Mira replied. "Their bodies are constantly being damaged and healing." On their last night on Earth, with just hours before extraction, the aliens sat with Rena in their house, finally showing her their true forms. "You're beautiful," she said, looking at Mira's colorful feathers, Vox's complex exoskeleton, and Trell's shimmering blue skin. Even Professor Dorn's tentacles and 3 eyes didn't frighten her. "You promised to tell me everything," Rena reminded them. "Where you're from, why you're studying us." Professor Dorn explained about the Galactic Academy, how Earth was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, too dangerous for most species to visit. "Wait," Rena laughed. "You think Earth is super dangerous, and that humans are some kind of super beings for living here, aren't you?" Vox asked. "You survive radiation, extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, diseases, natural disasters." Rena was about to answer when the door burst open. Jack stood there, staring at the 4 aliens in shock. "I knew something was weird, but this..." He stepped back. "You're actually aliens." Professor Dorn quickly reached for the emergency beacon, but Jack held up his hands. "Wait, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just wanted to know the truth." Rena went to him. "They're researchers, Jack. They're just studying us. They're leaving tonight." Jack looked at each alien. "So, what have you learned about humans?" The aliens shared their findings, how humans adapted to Earth's dangers, how they protected each other, how they prepared for disasters. "That's why you're here?" Jack asked. "To figure out how we survive on a death world." "Yes," Professor Dorn said. "But our time is up. The extraction ship arrives in 2 hours." Jack and Rena looked at each other, then back at the aliens. "What if we don't want you to go yet?" Jack asked. "What if we want to learn about you too?" A light on Professor Dorn's communication device began blinking. The message was clear. The ship was coming early. They had minutes, not hours. The room fell silent as they realized their time together was about to end, just when real understanding between their species had begun. "We have to go now," Professor Dorn said, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly. "The extraction ship doesn't wait." Jack stepped forward. "Can't you tell them you need more time? Your research isn't finished." "The Academy has strict rules about contact with non-galactic species," the professor explained. "Now that you know about us, we must leave immediately." Rena looked at Mira. "But we haven't told anyone. We won't tell anyone." Outside, a strange humming sound began. The aliens recognized it. The extraction ship was scanning for them. "There must be something we can do," Trell said, surprising everyone with his boldness. "We've learned so much, but there's more to understand." Professor Dorn's tentacles moved thoughtfully. "There is one possibility, but it requires trust on both sides." He turned to Jack and Rena. "Would you be willing to come with us? As Earth representatives, the Academy has never had human research subjects before." The 2 humans stared at him in shock. "Go to space?" Leave Earth? Jack asked. It would be temporary, Professor Dorn assured them. 1 standard month. You would be the first humans to see other worlds, other species, and it would change everything. Mira added excitedly. If the Academy met actual humans, they would understand our research better. Vox clicked her mandibles. It could be dangerous for them. Other worlds might have conditions humans can't survive. That's exactly why it's important, Jack said, his voice growing stronger. To show that humans can adapt to new environments. We've been doing it our whole history. The humming outside grew louder. A soft blue light shone through the windows. We must decide now, Professor Dorn said. What will it be? Rena looked at Jack, then at the aliens. I'll go. This is bigger than anything I could study here on Earth. Me too, Jack nodded. But we need to leave messages for our families. And we'll need our stuff. There's no time, Professor Dorn said. The ship is here. The ceiling of the house seemed to disappear, replaced by a glowing portal. A mechanical voice spoke in an alien language. Professor Dorn answered, speaking quickly. I've told them we have 2 human subjects, he explained. They're surprised but accepting. One by one, they were lifted into the ship by the blue light. First the aliens, then Jack and Rena, wide-eyed but unafraid. Inside the ship, alien crew members stared at the humans in amazement. Jack and Rena stared back with equal wonder. Welcome to the Galactic Research Vessel, Professor Dorn said. You are the first humans to leave your solar system. As the ship moved away from Earth, Jack and Rena looked through a viewing portal. Their home planet grew smaller, a blue and green marble in the blackness of space. It looks so peaceful from here, Rena said, not like a Deathworld at all. Professor Dorn stood beside them. That is the final lesson we learned. What seems deadly to one species is home to another. What seems impossible to survive becomes normal with adaptation. Vox joined them. The Academy will want to know everything about humans now. How you think, how you adapt, how you work together. And humans will want to know about all of you, Jack said. Someday, when Earth is ready. Mira chirped happily. Maybe we could start an exchange program. Aliens studying on Earth, humans studying on other worlds. Trell, who had been afraid of Earth from the beginning, nodded. I would return to Earth now. It's still dangerous, but I understand it better. As the ship accelerated to speeds humans had only dreamed of, Professor Dorn began recording his final report. Earth remains classified as a Class 12 death world, he dictated. But its inhabitants are not simply survivors. Humans have thrived because of challenges, not despite them. Their adaptability, cooperation, and innovation make them unique in the galaxy. He looked at Jack and Rena, already making friends with the curious crew members. And perhaps, he added, they have much to teach the rest of us about facing the unknown without fear. The ship vanished into deep space, carrying the first chapter of a new story, the meeting of Earth and the stars beyond.